Hi, welcome to my session. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Michelle Loveday, and I'm going to cover the topic and talk about working together to fight tech addiction. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have 5 children and have been married for almost 18 years. Our children technically are in 2 different age groups, and so we've had the joy of figuring out this technology stuff in many different ways. Our oldest is 23 and married, living in Virginia. Our twins are now 22, living in France and Norway, studying abroad and living and learning. And our children at home are almost 14 and 10 years old. And the time with the 2 age groups with technology has been uniquely different. And my husband and I have worked together to navigate that. So, as I start this session, let's resolve to have 2 things stated. One, technology isn't going anywhere. And unless you and your family decide to move to the rainforest or live off the grid, there will still be a need for you and your children to experience cell phones, computers, and smart devices. The second agreement. We want to teach our children how to be self-regulated and self-aware enough to know when technology addiction and too much time spent on technology is creeping in. It's our job as parents to guide and facilitate what that looks like. So I'm going to use the old adage word team to help you remember that. T, tackle this together. E, engage in activities. A, acknowledge the use of tech. And M, manage your children's time in front of technology. So let's go, team. Let's talk about what that looks like. In my own personal experience, there was always the set rule, I should say, that there was no screen time when my kids came home from after school. With the big kids, it was TV. When they came home from school, they could not turn on the TV. They could get a snack. They could play with their neighbors outside and their friends. They could color, they could draw, and they could start tackling homework. But there was no screen time. You see, I'm a working parent. My husband is a working parent. And so when we got home, picking kids up from the sitters or daycare, it was already 5 or 6 o'clock and bedtime was 8. That time was special to our family. But as cell phones started to creep into the equation, I instilled the same rule. And it was really important that I stuck with it. So that meant even I couldn't turn on the TV during that time when I wanted to veg out after a long day of work. But I noticed something. It was helpful. We spent more time together as a family. We were able to go on walks. We were able to get into a few activities around the neighborhood and area and really spend quality time throughout the week and on the weekends. They were allowed to have TV time on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so it was helpful. And so now we have the youngest two of which those children have experienced COVID. They have gone through the school shutting down, wearing masks, and the only way to connect was through a screen. Their dance classes were on screen. Their Girl Scout classes were on screen. Church was on screen. And that was how they socialized. And slowly but surely, my kids were spending time on the screen, and so was I. And I realized something had to be done. As my child entered 7th grade last year, I realized, oh my goodness, they're carrying around a Chromebook. She's got a Chromebook for homework, Chromebook at school, and constantly on the computer. So the same rule applied. But I also had given her a cell phone. And I realized that it was the constant, Mom, I need to have my downtime turned off. I've got to turn and talk to my friends. And I started noticing that need that as soon as we got into a car to go to a short trip to the grocery store, they had to have their devices. And I'm like, no, something's got to give. We've got to put a pause. And so I figured out how to use downtime. I figured out that I've got to take the devices away. So for me, it's been very helpful to be consistent. My kids know that there is no downtime during the week. They might have their devices with them, but they do not have the access to the games and to the videos. And the one thing that has also helped me is that they have to turn their devices in before they go to bed, before 8 or 9 o'clock at night, including my 10-year-old's Gabb watch. Now I know you're thinking, why does the Gabb watch have to go and get turned in? Well, there's little games on there, and if I make a mistake on the time that I turn off for her to be able to text friends or call friends, there's still a possibility. So in my room, I have a charging station. It's nothing fancy. It's literally a folding table that I have that fits in the corner and is right by the plug. And they put the items, the iPad, the Gabb watch, the cell phone, on that charging station. It belongs there. That way they can sleep peacefully, know that their devices are charging, they're resting, they're in a safe space. And everyone has to do it. And no one's singled out. And it has really helped. The one thing that I noticed sometimes is right when my kids woke up, they wouldn't go to their devices. But when they were in their rooms at one point, they used to immediately get on their devices. But now that they're in the room on the charging station, they get up, they walk around, they walk to the bathroom, they check the weather, and then they even selfishly come in and cuddle and say good morning to me. So if anything, the advantage of being able to see your children first thing in the morning is key to having a little charging station or an area, even if it's on your dresser. I want to know what it does with the mind, what technology does with the mind. So I started Googling all these kinds of things. And I was confirmed that being consistent with putting that out there, talking with my partner and my husband on what that looked like, it was going to be difficult. And so with the E of engaging with our family and activities, we had to be really mindful with, okay, we're going to only spend 3 hours on this Friday night on our devices. And then we're going to play a game. We're going to go on a walk. We're going to do something. And so with my husband and I tackling that, we were able to engage with our children, and our conversations have really blossomed. But I've also noticed that with my almost 14-year-old daughter, when the weather was wonderful, she would go on bike rides. Her mental health increased. And I was just really impressed with the way she was able to say, I'm done with technology. I've had 4 hours, and not even have an issue. And that made me feel a lot better. We still struggle from time to time. On a lazy Saturday when it's raining outside, I have to monitor, you know what, it's been kind of quiet since 1 o'clock and it's 7 o'clock right now. I better go in and check on the kids and see if they want to play checkers or go for a walk or color or paint. And it's really something that you have to be mindful of. But for me, seeing my daughter do the one thing that I never thought would happen is this. It was 10 o'clock one night and I was exhausted. I was done for the day. And I was in bed reading a book, just ready to wind down. And my daughter came into my room and said, Mom, you forgot to grab my cell phone for the night. I'm going to put it on the charging station. What a win. What a way for my daughter to learn the self-regulation of the tool that she knows she needs. And I was really proud of that. And it's happened a couple more nights since then. So there is consistency rewards for the parents to see, but you just have to stick with it. And with the A of the team, acknowledging that the use of tech is going to be there is where your kids will then meet you in the middle. And when you acknowledge that it's useful, it's not this horrible thing in place, because look at us, we're digital right now. They can respect the fact that you have boundaries of certain apps that you don't want them to download, and ways that you're going to monitor them, and who they can text. And so finally, as you do the M, managing your children's time in front of tech, I want to encourage you, if you have an iPhone, my daughter hates when I share this secret, you can utilize the downtime feature on that phone. And I'm sure Android has a feature as well, but I'm not quite as familiar with that. I'm not selling either one, but there is a way to manage your child's downtime. And what that means is, even though that they have the phone with them on their person, you can turn off the time that they spend on that. So everything goes blank. And my daughter has only access to text messages and certain contacts, me, her father, her siblings, and her grandparents, to be able to call and talk to during that time, especially during the school day. And the Gab watch has the same feature, which is super exciting. My daughter can wear her watch. She can voice message me when she gets to the bus stop or when she's coming home, but she can only contact me and her father as the guardian. Every other contact, including her bestie crew that she likes to talk to a lot, is silenced. She can't even see them on the screen. But when she gets home from school, 3 o'clock, suddenly they appear. And it helps her realize what is important with the self-regulation. And as we facilitate what that looks like, they start to develop it. It was special because I could even hear my child say to her friend, I'll be able to talk to you on Saturday when my time comes up on my Gab watch. I'll talk to you later. It's about to go off. It's time for me to go to bed. And it was 7:30. So it's really one of those things that you talk with your partner on what is manageable. What do you think is a manageable time to be on tech throughout the day? And what productivity do you want to see in your family? It's true that as we spend less time doing certain things, other things start to pick up. And so we want to be able to be productive and self-regulate and say, okay, I have wasted 2 hours scrolling through Instagram. It's time to go wash the dishes and do laundry. And I even say those things out loud. When my children see that I am self-regulating myself and I have acknowledged that I'm going to go to the wasteland for an hour and just be on my phone, they see that there is a need for me to kind of zone out in certain ways too. So modeling that could be the other part of the M as you manage your children's time in front of tech. I just want to encourage you that you can battle this together. We're all in the same situation. I'm constantly talking to friends to see what's working for them in their home, what battles they're facing, and it's not easy. There have been nights where there's been crying. Why are you taking my phone away from me? Why I have to finish this conversation? You just don't want me to be relevant. Yes, my almost 14-year-old daughter said that to me. She needed to be relevant. There is certain aspects and influence that we have with tech. And with technology, we know that there's certain addictions that come with it. And just like any addiction, the first step is to recognize that we have a problem. But I'm here to tell you it's possible. So let's go, team. Let's make sure that we tackle this together, that we engage in activities outside of technology on occasion, and we acknowledge the use of technology, and we manage and model our own time and use of technology in front of our children. You've got this. You can do it. I believe in you. You can continue to follow me as I share some education tips throughout the day of what works and what doesn't work and what I found helpful at m.love_day consulting. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook and my website. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.